Yo guys, what's going on? It's your boy Blank Online. Today we're gonna be doing another one of these discussion videos where I kind of just chill out and have a chat with you guys. Nothing's really going on in Call of Duty, so because the beta is so close to coming out, nothing's really leaking, nothing's really happening, so I thought I'd just do one of these discussion videos. I did one not too long ago talking about the state of YouTube. Now this video is going to be me talking about being a Call of Duty YouTuber in 2019 and what that's all about. Keep it more centralized to Call of Duty rather than being more generalized in a holistic YouTube sort of view. Again, keeping it central to Call of Duty. So if you guys are interested in that, stay along for the ride. If you do go on to enjoy this, click that like button, and if you're new around here, don't hesitate, click that subscribe button because we do a lot of Call of Duty stuff here on the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I guess the best way to kind of to start this is to go back to back in the day of what I like to call the peak of Call of Duty on YouTube. Now the peak of Call of Duty on YouTube for me personally was the time of 2011 and 2012. Now 2011 was Modern Warfare 3, 2012 was Call of Duty Black Ops 2, arguably two of the most influential Call of Duty games in a YouTube sense, because with those two games is where Call of Duty really started to pop off here on the platform. Now I was doing YouTube back then when those games released, were the current games at least, in that prime time, but the thing that I found was hard back then was the fact that I was just a kid. Like I wasn't I guess mature enough for the audience at that time. At that time, the audience here on YouTube, for Call of Duty at least, yeah, there were kids, but a lot of the more vocal people and a lot of the more influential people were adults, like proper grown adults, like late teens and adults. So for me, being a kid in that whole scene was hard because no one really took me seriously. It was a lot of, I wouldn't say hate comments, but it was just a lot of people recognizing that I wasn't an older person and I wasn't, I guess, experienced enough to actually be doing this, to actually be taken seriously. There were definitely people who genuinely did take me seriously and did watch my videos and all that sort of stuff. I think that as it went on, like let's say 2013, and 2013 was when it kind of it really peaked, and then 2014 is where it kind of dropped off. In that little realm of 2013, I'd say, is when my voice dropped. So when my voice dropped, it dropped really early, like earlier than when boys usually have their voice drop. So that helped me in a YouTube sense because that allowed I guess my videos to sound like it was coming from a much older person than what it did before back in 2011, when my voice was still like a kid, obviously, because you can't expect a kid to sound like a 40-year-old man, I guess. But back in the day, the audience that was watching YouTube was a lot older, so in a sense it was a lot harder back then for someone like me growing up and aspiring to do this, back when those aspirations were weird and you were a loser if you wanted to do YouTube, and it was just a different crowd back then. But even though it was I guess a harsher crowd back then, and there was really no forgiveness if you were a kid doing this, and you'd get called out whenever you do something stupid or you sound like a little girl or whatever that may be. Even though it was like that back then, I feel like the Call of Duty YouTube community was popping. Like it was incredibly popular back in the day. Like Call of Duty was the thing. Montages, commentaries, series, all that sort of stuff. Everyone was on YouTube, and if you're interested in YouTube gaming, it was Call of Duty and it was Minecraft. Those two games were the back in 2011, 2012 when they were at their peak. Like those were the things that if you were an aspiring YouTuber and or if you were just a fan of Call of Duty in general, those two games, they were the things you wanted to do on the platform back then. and then again, in a sense, it was a lot easier back then to get recognition and get views and all that sort of stuff, because back then there was so little people doing it, because again, that idea that if you were doing YouTube you were a f***ing loser, right? So I guess in a sense that a lot of people were scared to do this, and with that fear meant that a lot of people didn't do it. But the people that did do it, like myself, like a lot of other people, we saw some sort of success based off of just having a go and doing it. My videos back then were absolutely terrible. I edited on Camtasia Studio. The microphone that I used was like a $20 Logitech headset microphone. My edits were garbage. The gameplay that I used, some of it was recorded on a flip camera. Some of them were actually recorded with a capture card, but that was in late 2012 when I actually got a proper capture card and I used that and had HD. I remember my first HD gameplay video I brought out. I was so happy because it was clear and it wasn't like standard definition, right? So it was mental when I got my first HD capture card and I was posting content in HD, and that really drove me to make videos because the quality of them upped so much. I think that a lot of people, I guess a lot of people nowadays didn't really understand the concept of videos not being in HD, because back then that was sort of common practice, right? Because technology didn't evolve into what it is now. Now you have so many different ways to record your gameplay. Back then it was, you have a Dazzle, or you have some sort of like Roxio capture card or something like that, and you use that to record your gameplay. And then as technology changed, the big YouTubers adopted HD, but a lot of the smaller YouTubers like myself didn't really jump onto that HD train just yet. And obviously I couldn't do that because I was just a kid, so I didn't have money, right? But when I got my first HD capture card for Christmas, it was like the best thing ever. So in a sense, that sort of landscape and that sort of community back then was so much more, I guess, immature might not be the right word to use, but it was a lot less polished. That's the word, polished, because you had people doing it in HD with proper microphones and stuff like that, and then you had people like myself who were still rocking on standard definition, transitioning to HD, using headset mics and stuff like that. Like headset mics, they were actually recommended as proper microphones. Now we have USB microphones and microphones and interfaces and all this sort of stuff, all these different ways to manipulate audio in Audacity and GarageBand and Adobe Audition, and this whole thing has just evolved, right? From me recording Modern Warfare 3, with piles of books stacked up with a little standard definition camera pointed at my screen while I talk about whatever the we'll talk about back then, to now where I have an Elgato, I have my key light, I have my Rode NT USB microphone, I have my Rode PSA1 microphone, I have a DSLR, I have a Logitech C922. Like, I have all this equipment that 12-year-old me would have creamed if I had all this equipment back in the day, like legitimately. But that's because the whole Call of Duty game has really evolved since then. If you look at content that was made back then compared to the content that's made now, it's completely different. I think that the novelty of commentary has gone away completely. I think that people aren't interested in it's not that people aren't interested in what you have to say, it's that people aren't interested in the things that they were interested in back then. I think nowadays you've got to kind of make it your own and find your identity here in the Call of Duty space, right? So no longer are the days have passed since when you can upload a 5-minute video of you talking bullcrap over a gameplay. You can't record a 10-second clip and that get a bunch of views because you did something sick with a sniper rifle, right? Those days are gone. Obviously there's a lot of that, but I think that a lot of like the smaller stuff, like clips and stuff like that, have moved on to Twitter and have moved on to Facebook. It's moved away from YouTube. YouTube is more the longer videos, so videos that are 10 minutes plus, videos that are longer so that people can kind of sit, relax, get connected to the person that's making the video, listen to what they're saying, engage with the video. I think that's the reason why even the algorithm nowadays prefers videos that are longer than 10 minutes, because people are watching videos more that are longer than 10 minutes. Back in the day of 2011, 2012, if you recorded like a 10-minute commentary, that would have been too long. Like, that would have been like stupid. Why would you sit there for 10 minutes to watch someone talk? And now that's just common. That's what people like nowadays. People are really into podcasts right now. Podcasts are really in, and podcasts go for like an hour plus long, right? Back in the day, there were podcasts around, but they weren't super popular. I remember back in the day, one of my favorite podcasts were Painkiller Already, and Painkiller Already, like, they would go on for 4 hours, sometimes more, sometimes less, but they were long. And there were those dedicated fans who watched week in, week out, but then there's people who didn't really grasp onto that because it was so long, and people back then didn't have, maybe it's not that they didn't have the time, maybe it's just because they didn't have the attention span back then. So I think that in that sense as well, Call of Duty YouTube has in 2019 elevated to where you need to think about content and creating content that's not 5 minutes, 6 minutes long. It's content that's like 10, 20 minutes long, and keeping your audience engaged for that 10, 20 minutes. Like, you gotta be on your toes. You gotta be always saying something or doing something interesting to keep the viewer pulled in. Because if you let's say I did this video, right, and I just stopped talking for 2 minutes, within 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, you'd click off, right? The fact that nowadays in YouTube, people's attention spans are like the snap of the fingers. You gotta, as soon as you start recording, you gotta get their attention. You gotta be talking about what you gotta do, what you're gonna talk about, and all that sort of stuff. So you gotta get people interested from the word go. Back in the day, you could kind of have a slower build up, right? Back in the day, you can kind of be like, hey guys, what's going on? I'm just doing this. I'm playing this game on this map. And nowadays, if I was like, all right guys, today I'm playing team deathmatch on Nuketown with this gun, with these attachments, you'd click off. I would click off, right? Our attention spans now are so short, especially in a Call of Duty sense. The attention spans are so short that I can't talk about what map I'm playing on, what game I'm playing, what attachments I'm using on the gun, why those attachments are good on that gun, what secondary am I using, what perks are you using, why are those perks helping me in this game, right? Because once you've done all that, 5 minutes is gone from the video. Like what 3 to 5 minutes already gone because you talked about nonsense in this day and age's ideas, right? So in this day and age in Call of Duty, talking about what map you're playing on, it doesn't matter. Talking about what game mode you're playing, it doesn't matter. Talking about your guns and the attachments on just a regular commentary video doesn't matter. Yeah, if you're doing an in-depth analysis video or you're doing some sort of analysis video, then that sort of stuff does matter in terms of perks and weapons and attachments and stuff like that. But for just a video like this, it means absolutely nothing because it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Back in the day, you could do all that. You could spend 3 to 5 minutes talking about the gameplay, and then for the next 2 minutes talk about what you're actually going to talk about, because that was the normal back in the day. The normal nowadays is you gotta talk about what you're going to talk about in the video from the word go, or else it's going to be clickbait, or else it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, right? So it's a lot different to back in the day. It's definitely Call of Duty in 2019 has changed so much. I don't even know who the popular Call of Duty YouTubers are now. The popular Call of Duty YouTubers back in the day, your White Boy 7th Street, Woody's Gamertag, Onslaught, Markadurka, FPS Russia, even though he did a lot of gun videos, he did some Call of Duty videos as well. Who else was there? Xjaws. Who else was Hutch? CNanners. Like, I don't even know if some of like the kids now on the platform even know who those guys are. Those Call of Duty YouTubers that were popping back in the day, they were my inspiration. They were the reason that I wanted to do this, because they made it seem so fun and so enjoyable to do. So that's why I got into computers and games and video editing and all that sort of stuff, is because I watched their videos and I aspired to be like them. Kids nowadays have those same aspirations, but they're coming from different angles. As I said, I don't even know who the popular Call of Duty YouTubers are right now. I don't think Call of Duty right now is the most popular game on YouTube. I'd say that GTA is more popular than Call of Duty on YouTube. Fortnite, the emergence of Fortnite, Minecraft is still up there. A bunch of different games have just elevated Call of Duty, because I think a bunch of those other games that are really popular adhere to a wider audience than Call of Duty does. Call of Duty, whether you like to believe it or not, even though it is the most popular franchise in the history of gaming, it's still very targeted towards a specific market and a specific group of people. A game like Fortnite, it's available everywhere. Everyone can play it. It's friendly enough so that everyone can hop on and play that game. Same with Minecraft. Even though you do have to pay for Minecraft, that game is friendly enough, and as you can approach that game, anyone can do that. Your mum can do it, your sister can do it, your grandma can play Minecraft. Everyone can play Minecraft. Not everyone can play Call of Duty. Not everyone can enjoy Call of Duty. So in a sense, even though it was popping back in the day, that's because the majority of people on YouTube came because they like Call of Duty. And now YouTube is such a big thing, and there's so many different groups of people watching YouTube nowadays, that audience that Call of Duty adhered to back in the day has just shrunk. And now we're here in 2019, that community is arguably the smallest it's ever been. Now, there are opportunities for Call of Duty to grow bigger than what it is right now. I think that at the moment, the way that it is, it won't. But that's purely because I don't think there's people, and I don't think the game has the ability to, the ability to create new ideas off of. Everyone has done a series in Call of Duty. I haven't done a series in Call of Duty yet, and I'm going to here in Modern Warfare when that game first releases. But with the game and the way that the game is, you got to be super creative to think of a new, fresh concept that no one has actually done yet. Now, I'm not saying that that's impossible, and with the ideas that I've got cooking up, I think that Modern Warfare is going to be the game where we can see these new things come into play, and new series and new ways to play the game, and that are entertaining for audiences to see. I think that with this year's game, there's an opportunity for that, and the opportunity for Call of Duty on YouTube to grow. I think that Modern Warfare, if the sales of that game do well, and if the creators like myself and like everyone else does a good job of advertising the game and showing people different ways of playing the game rather than just your traditional multiplayer, so that people who enjoy different types of games can have fun with Modern Warfare. I think that when that happens, we'll see the rise of Call of Duty on YouTube again. But it's up to like people like myself, and it's up to the Call of Duty creators on YouTube to make a product, and that product being our videos that appeals to a mass audience. And I am going to be super critical of myself here. The videos that I make are targeted towards people who play, live, and breathe Call of Duty. The stuff that I talk about is for people who care about the franchise and not necessarily a general audience. Again, that's why Fortnite and that's why Minecraft do so well, because the stuff that you can do on those games adheres to a bunch of different people, whereas Call of Duty and the videos that I create personally, where I talk about what's going on in the community, what's going on with the game, thoughts and opinions on the future of the franchise and that sort of stuff, and exactly the type of video I'm doing right now, doesn't really appeal to everyone. And that's the shortcoming of me, and that's the shortcoming of every other Call of Duty creator that's not doing something that appeals to a mass audience. I think that it's up to us to change that, to bring Call of Duty back into the spotlight on YouTube, get it back on trending, get it back to where it was in 2011 and 2012, and make Call of Duty YouTube great again in 2019 and going into 2020, because we can do it. We just got to find the means of making it happen. But I think that it can happen. I genuinely believe that Call of Duty has the power, has the attention, has the numbers to come back on top here on YouTube, on the platform. It shouldn't be where it is, right? It shouldn't be down there with Battlefield and with those sorts of games. It shouldn't. It should be up there with Fortnite. It should be up there with Minecraft, because it has the potential to be up there. And I'm sure that there's people out there crying out for something more serious than Fortnite. And I'm sure that there's people out there crying out for something different to Minecraft. But it's up to us to create the content that adheres to them. And it's up to us to create the content that, I guess makes Call of Duty appealing again to the general audience, which is what it was back in the day. So, I don't know. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. Even if you're not a creator, even if you're just someone who watches Call of Duty on YouTube, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of the state of the franchise in YouTube as it stands right now in 2019 today. As I said at the start of the video, if you did enjoy it, make sure you click that like button, click that subscribe button as well. If you're new here, keep up to date on all my Call of Duty content upcoming. In description down below, there's a bunch of links for you guys to check out. I'm on a bunch of different social media platforms and a bunch of different channels as well, so click down below and find out where else you can find me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.